Hey guys, welcome to Hope It Helps. My guest on the show today is Miss Samira Alexander. Samira, welcome to the show.
Welcome. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you for your time. Oh, I really appreciate it. So Samira, we got put in touch through a friend of mine, and it turns out that you actually are certified in the
RTT therapist.
RTT therapist, which is what I'm studying at the moment.
Yes.
So I thought it'd be so interesting to talk to you and to learn about your experience doing it, especially here in the UAE, and like how did you get into all this? But I want to start at the beginning. Why don't you just give everyone a little bit of background about yourself, and we'll take it from there.
Okay then. So I'm from London, and I've been here in the UAE for about, I think, nearly 13 years. And I come from a very hardcore corporate background. I'm a global macroeconomist. 2 degrees in economics. I'm a real estate investor as well, and did that for a while, and worked for consultancies and forecast real estate. But my passion has always been to make a difference, to work with people. Ever since as a kid, I was fascinated by the mind and how the mind works, and how we can change our thoughts, and how we can overcome things, mind over matter. That was one of my mottos I always used to say. I used to read something. I remember an article I read by Trudy Styler, Sting's wife, and how she used to visualize things. She used to write a list of things that she wanted to do the following day, and she'd write them the night before and visualize them, and then all those things used to get done the following day. And I used to read books by this guy called Tony Bazan, who's still around, and he just created mind mapping. And I was always fascinated by the mind. But as I grew up, I actually had to, or decided to get a job and doing corporate, and economics was one of my passions as well, because it's a very dynamic subject. And at one point, I think I wanted to be a trader, FX
really?
trader.
Okay,
Yes, I wanted to be a
interesting.
trader. So I used to do forecast, but I used to forecast global macroeconomies, things like that. And then I obviously, over the years, I took some time out to be an actress because I wanted to do something creative.
Oh, no way.
Yes, I did that.
That's cool. How long did you do that for?
A couple of years.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Did you get into any like West End things?
Yeah. I did like little shows and things like that, and documentary series, dramas. Originally my background is Pakistani, so I did some of those ones, and I also did some stuff in the UK, and also some music videos and things like that.
Oh no way, that's so cool.
It's cool.
That's awesome.
And then and then I went back into, then I became a real estate investor, and I thought, wouldn't economics and real estate, wouldn't it be great to find a job combining with those two together? And I didn't even know they existed, but there were real estate forecasting jobs available for people to forecast real estate, residential, commercial, for real estate advisory companies. And so then I was doing that, and that was my passion. And then I got headhunted when the market collapsed, and was going about just before collapsing in the US and the UK. I knew that was going to happen, so I wanted to move to a different country. I wanted to move to the East and Middle East and or Asia. And I got headhunted for a job at Aldar.
Yeah.
So I went there, and it was an amazing experience. I had 4 years there, and then moved to Etihad. But even though I loved what I was doing, I was really passionate about what I was doing, my heart wasn't completely aligned with what I was doing, because my heart was always drawn to reading about the mind, health, wellness, and I would be fascinated by it all. And
So did you not feel like fulfilled?
yeah, I mean, so I don't think I was completely fulfilled. I think that sometimes, as much as I loved what I was doing, I think that I wasn't feeling fulfilled. I wasn't feeling aligned. Yeah,
okay.
I wasn't feeling aligned. And I tried a few times to tap into my calling, but I think I wasn't ready, because I think I'd get sick doing healings and things like that, or cleanses, and we started off doing something on Reiki, and then I did a weekend there, and I got sick, and I think I'd never found anything that I really was completely enamored by. I think how I came across Marissa was actually when I was 30, living in Putney, and I was going through my own confidence issues. I'd been bullied as a kid at school. And And it had an impact on my confidence. Even though on the outside I was quite strong and tough and things, I get through things. I think internally, your lack of worth, it filters through, or your lack of confidence. And I think I went to see Marissa. I found her, and I still trying to remember how I came across her. I wasn't sure if it was the Yellow Pages or if somebody recommended Marissa, and she was living quite close to me. So I went to see her at the age of 30 for confidence, and she was amazing. Then she was very loving and warm and kind, and the session was phenomenal. And over the years, I kept in touch with her. And friends and family had sessions with her. She even came to Dubai at one point as well. And so when I was actually going through my whole corporate journey, I remember Marissa, but I also remember that she wasn't teaching anything. So I was looking for a course in hypnotherapy. I was looking for some training. And my other passion was kinesiology. So what happened in beginning of 2015 was I came across an amazing woman called Michelle Shadal, who's phenomenal coach, executive coach, and has created a school over the last 5 years in kinesiology.
Okay.
And she's a kinesiologist as well.
And what is kinesiology, by the way?
So kinesiology is using the body to tap into your subconscious level. It's actually, we have a lot of meridians. We have veins with blood flowing through our bodies. We have meridians flowing through our bodies, and we can end up having energy blocks in those
areas.
pathways. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And we also, when we're having emotion, holding emotion, sometimes we get angry, we're depressed, or we're having anxiety. So when people say to you, you may have anxiety, you may be holding it in your chest, it's because you tend to hold anxiety in your chest or your stomach. If you're full of anger, if you're feeling angry, you're going to be holding it in your liver. So there's this connection with the mind and body anyway. Yeah. And you can release that emotions. You end up holding an emotion. And when we use muscle indicators, so we can muscle test to find out where the body is. The body can be strong and it can be weak. And so kinesiology can show you where we may be holding emotion, what emotion we're holding, especially if we're trying to achieve a goal.
Okay.
And then we can release those blocks that we may have, tapping in the subconscious level, but from a conscious point of view, and using the body to give us the message. It's very similar to RTT, where we're tapping a subconscious level, but RTT goes a deep level further, where it actually goes, you're tapping a subconscious level from the get-go. So you're going to tap into scenes, feelings, and sensations, which I'll talk about in a minute. But so anyway, I was approached, and I thought, okay, well, I'll jump at the chance to do kinesiology. I felt that I have to. Where am I going to go for the next 10, 20 years of my life? I don't want to be in corporate. I want to be moving away from that, and I want to be creating something of my own. And so hence I jumped at the chance of doing kinesiology, because I was fascinated by that. Again, your thoughts can create how your body is weak and strong. Again, it's phenomenal. It blows my mind all the time when I still do it. So it's mind blowing. And then that very year, Marissa then decided to teach her method, RTT.
Yeah.
And so I jumped at the chance to do it. It was a pioneer group. There was only about 38 of us at the time from all over the world. And I was actually meant to be on a trip to Moscow with my company, because I was traveling around to do a specific project. And while I was in Moscow, I hadn't spoken to Marissa, and she said, you can come to the course, but I'd be missing 2 days. And she said, yeah, we just catch up later. And I said, okay. Funnily enough, when I got to Moscow, all those meetings got cancelled. And I thought, I wonder if I can actually fly to London from here and take those extra 2 days.
Yeah.
And then I just Googled, I first asked my boss, and he said, fine. And then I looked at flights, and I was able to fly from Moscow to Berlin, to London, to the course, and be late only by 30 minutes.
Wow.
On the first day.
That's amazing.
Now, if you don't think that that's meant to be, then I don't know what is.
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
Everything just was basically moved really went smoothly. So, so my journey, so as I said, I was in corporate hardcore, but I just felt at some point I needed to really tap into that whole side of me making a difference and helping people.
Yeah.
And I think it was time for me to start doing that and building that. I wasn't sure when I was going to do it, but I wanted to do the training so I could actually create a plan.
Yeah.
So really 2015 was a pivotal
That's what
year
all
for
changed.
me. It all changed. So I started doing kinesiology, and by August I decided, or Marissa announced that she was going to do her course in RTT, her first ever course, and launch RTT. And so we did that in November 2015. And honestly, I was there for 2 weeks. At the time, she was 8 days. Sorry, it was 8 days, and it was amazing. Every single second of that day was phenomenal. I loved every single second of it, and I didn't want it to end. I've spent hundreds and thousands of pounds on my education over the years, and I've done masters, all sorts of things. But that particular course was one course where you could actually get to sit there and talk about the mind, talk about all possibilities. I mean, you can create anything you want to if you want to, providing you know how to use your mind.
Yeah.
And clear those blocks. You can create anything. And what a wish list. I mean, that's your genie, isn't it? That's your genie.
Yeah.
So it was phenomenal. I loved every single second of that. I made great friends there. Marissa's course was amazing. And I came back to my corporate job. And during that corporate job, I was still trying to see clients and do my and still do my day job. But and I was kind of building everything in the background. But I also could see that obviously things were changing in the company, that things may change and that there may be job cuts, things like that. I kind of predicted that, I think, because my background as an economist, I could see things happening, and I thought there's potentially that's going to happen. But I wasn't worried because I knew that I had a backup and what I want to do. And February 2017 was actually a time when there were a group of us that were made redundant. I think when they actually called us into a room and just told us, and I think, I wonder if they're going to just say there's a pay cut, or is it made redundancy?
Is it that? Yeah.
Or is it that? Because they're constantly saying that the whole department's going to be made cut. There'll be cuts and blah, 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 blah. So we're waiting, and every meeting that was happening. And I thought, I wonder what's going to happen. And I remember the HR guy coming in, and he had brown envelopes. And I said, okay, we're being cut. But the thing is that I couldn't stop smiling. I said to him, you okay?
He kind of gave you the out that you were looking for.
Absolutely. And to this day, the story has been made out that, when people have been made redundant at that particular company, they said, don't worry about it. We had this one particular person who was made redundant. She was smiling and she was happy, and, she went off and did her own thing. And it's true. And the thing is, sometimes, I was ready anyway, but I think sometimes the universe forces us to be put in a situation that we need to be. And I think COVID is that situation as well. We're being faced to confront fears and our anxiety and things, to maybe move out of our comfort zone, to really go for what we really want to go for. Because if we don't do it now, when the hell are we going to do it?
That's true.
Right?
100%.
So I think that was the opportunity for me. And I still think I tried to apply for jobs, trying to follow the sheep, but yet I just thought one day, I just applied for a couple of jobs, and even though I had the right experience, I wasn't even getting interviews. And before that, I would always get at least one or two, I just have to apply for one or two jobs, and I'd get one of the jobs always, all my life. And so this time I thought, this is really strange. And I thought, okay, let me just test this. If I try and apply for jobs, let me see, nothing's happening. But every time I work on my business and do something towards that, it kind of flows. So maybe it's because I really need to be really focusing on that.
Yeah,
exactly. And I didn't look back since. Within that month, I had my website up and running, and I just started telling friends and people, and already got some testimonials as well. And each month I was getting more clients and clients. And really, my business overall has grown, and till date, a lot of it is through referral based.
Yeah.
I think it's the best way.
100%.
I've really just started really doing social media. I was really lazy at doing social media, and I suppose COVID was that place for me to do that, because I want to make more of an impact. But I think a lot of it is referral based. People want to have referrals, recommendations. And so I'd have spouses telling their spouses, colleagues telling colleagues, parents telling children, children telling parents. And yeah, that's how it's really grown and developed in my business. So really, how did I get into this? I had a passion for it, or I had a childhood passion to make a difference and help people. And my other childhood passion was when I was about in my 20s, I used to meet people who who'd come from Dubai, and they said, oh yeah, they've been working in Dubai for God knows how long. I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. I didn't even know what Dubai looked like.
Yeah.
But all I knew is hot and sunny, and I wanted to be there. And that was my dream, to be somewhere hot and sunny in a country that was east and west, which I think Dubai is an amazing example, perfect place. It's amazing mix.
Yeah.
And celebrates Islam as well as all other religions as well, and respects those, tolerance. Beautiful place, beautiful food, all multicultural. I love it. Equidistance for anywhere in the world, so you can jump on a plane and be anywhere. And that's what I used to do before. I could be jumping on a plane to Australia, jumping on a plane to UK, or jumping on a plane to LA, or or sometimes I'd be Australia, stopping here and then going to LA or something like that. So it's crazy that all the traveling that I've done. So, and then I'm living my dream. I mean, I have, through my journey of that childhood dream that I had, I'm now living in a place that I want to live in, doing the work that I want to do, and fully aligned with what I'm doing. So yes, I loved what I did in corporate, but sometimes you come across toxic relationships, idiot bosses, people that you don't want to work with anymore. And I think I grew out of it. Yeah. Anyway, corporate, because you don't want to play that game anymore. You don't want to be playing, that egotistical thing that's going on. And, there's lots of good people there, but sometimes you just have tired of the politics and game playing and things like that.
A lot of bureaucracy.
And also bureaucracy, well, and life's too short. And obviously I feel that wasn't what I was sent here to do. Yeah. And so as soon as I was aligned with what I was doing, everything flowed for me. And so, as I was saying, I get to live in a place that I want to live in. I get to see where I live. I get to see the sea every day as well in JBR. And I live and I fully aligned with what I'm doing. So I've been doing it 5 years, and I've served a lot of people, and I'm grateful and honored that I've been able to have the opportunity to do that. Yeah. And I wake up every day excited that my heart is full. My heart is really full as we speak here right now of having the opportunity to be able to help so many people and make a difference. Yeah. And use a technique that is so simple yet very, very powerful, and combined with my coaching, other things that you do, but using RTT to really make that difference, because life is too short. People don't need to be in pain. They don't need to suffer. And I really believe, and I have enough testimonials, enough results from clients, working with clients, they don't have to be in pain and suffer. And I've worked with some of the most traumatic situations. Yeah. Sometimes clients have completely forgotten what's happened to them and buried it.
Repressed memories and stuff, right? Yeah.
So, I'm living my dream.
That's awesome. That's really awesome.
Has that answered your question?
I think that answered my question perfectly. So many points to pick up on.
Okay.
I wanted to first of all come back to, because I was curious, the kinesiology that you were talking about. So you said something about you can do a test and identify where you have blocks in the body, right? So how do you, what is that test? What does that look like? Because I'm like, that sounds super interesting.
Yeah, so it's like a muscle test. You would, the body has electric current, and sometimes when your body is scrambled or there's blockages in the body, the energy is not flowing, the electric current's not flowing. So you can use your arm as the muscle test, or different muscles in the body as an indicator to say if the body and test in parts of the body to see which part of the body is weak. Okay. Or we use very much Chinese medicine kind of information to find out where you're holding emotion, where you're holding the blockage, and what the emotion would be. Yeah. So it could be worry, it could be anxiety, it could be lack of self-worth, it could be despair, it could be, we have a whole list of emotions that you could be holding on to. True. In some part of your body. Yeah. And then we'd be asking the client, well, you come for this goal that you want to make $10,000, say, a month. Yep. Yet your body is weak when we muscle test you for that goal, and the emotion that's coming up is lack of self-worth. Yeah. And so where do you, and it's to you feel that you have lack of self-worth. So why do you have that? So where's that come from? Yeah. And so we have that dialogue with a client to find out where they may have the lack of self-worth or what's come. And so that's more conscious. The body is tapping at subconscious level, but the answers and the questions you're having a dialogue with the client at a conscious level. Yeah. If you did that in RTT, obviously you wouldn't know where you're what emotion you'd be holding, but a client may come in and say that I'm suffering from anxiety, or I have low self-esteem, And when you put them into a relaxed state, you're asking those questions and they're giving you the answers about, subconscious mind, take me back to a scene or a feeling or a sensation, what triggered the anxiety or lack of self-worth. And they may go back, I didn't have a good relationship with my dad, or, I was bullied at school, or something happened. And then you can ask them, well, where would you hold that emotion? Where are you holding your lack of self-worth? So you can still...
Okay. So that's how you kind of combine the two of them together.
Well, it's interesting. The thing is, the body holds emotion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's two different modalities are showing you where they're going to hold it, and they're probably very, very close to that. Most places you'll be holding it. You'll be holding anxiety or lack of self-worth in your chest, your solar plexus, your anger in your liver. But you're not, when you're doing RTT, they're not going to say, "Oh, I'm holding it in my liver," but they'll feel it around their body, in the main organs, or it could be in their head that they've got a memory about it all. It may not be as exact, but it's about where they're feeling it, because when they feel the emotion, they'll know where they're holding it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we do definitely hold emotion in our body anyway.
For sure.
It's about how you release it. You can release it using kinesiology, or you can use it using RTT, but you also let go of that rewiring and patterning in kinesiology is extremely powerful, and if you do a series of sessions and stuff, you're recalibrating the body and the mind anyway, and the awareness is 50%, which is really going to make a difference as well. Whereas even RTT, that takes it that little step further, where you clear it as well, but you also have a recording to rewire your brain and thinking about it and stuff. And so you can upgrade your thinking. It's kind of a bit more it's a faster process. They're both fast, but one's slightly faster on some level, depending on what somebody wants to do, what's better for them.
100%. One thing, like going through the course and actually doing a session the other day, what blew my mind is, it's so interesting when you're in a session with someone, what the things that come up. And the feedback I got from the person I was helping was, he's like, I've been aware of those sessions before, but I've never found the link between them and understood them until now.
Connecting the dots. Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of connecting the dots. They may be aware of it, but they've never connected the dots, or they haven't seen it from that perspective, and that's blown people away. Absolutely. Again, 2 days ago I had a client exactly like that. She was following the same pattern in her workplace that she was doing when she was with her relationship with her dad, and she hadn't realized that. I mean, it really kicked off because she had that relationship with her dad, and how she was behaving. Her behavior was created because of that. But her work situation was triggering that, and she was behaving like that in the workplace. And I feel that a lot of things that happen in the workplace are triggers that take you back to your childhood. For instance, if you're having...
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, I really do believe that.
Okay, walk us through that. What do you mean? Like,
well, for instance, if you have a mean boss or something, you have a boss that's quite difficult, you're not getting on with them, you're being triggered. You're carrying something, and if it means that you hate you don't want to go into work, he's causing you too much stress and things like that. Of course, we are, we will be unstressed and things, but there could be a colleague, a work colleague who triggers you, or it could be a boss that you don't want to talk to, but you're afraid of and things. And it's not the boss itself. Of course, you're being affected by the boss, but there's an underlying issue that you haven't sorted out that goes back to childhood.
Yeah.
And that boss could be triggering you because of being bullied at school. I mean, I could say, I was bullied at school for the color of my skin, because even though I'm quite fair, in the 70s, obviously, and even though there were black children and Asian children then, I was still singled out for being Asian, or derogatory words were said. And that's when I first started primary school, and it affected me because I found it was just really bizarre that my skin, I thought I was the same as everyone else, and suddenly I'm different. And so I went through a period of being bullied that had affected me. And then even though I felt I had cleared some of it, or I tried to overcome it, I felt that, and this is the thing, that you sometimes are attracting those things and situations because you haven't dealt with it. So in the workplace, you're attracting getting bullied, or you may be in a relationship, you get bullied and things like that, because you can look at it from a point of view of vibration, or you can look at it from a point of view of that lack of confidence is lower, so that some people can sniff it out, or people can think, they'll take advantage of that. So even though you think you're very confident things, your energy body, your energy you emit will be picked up by other people, and they'll know that and it's a vibration.
Yeah.
And so so I was getting triggered by bosses, or a few bosses, where I didn't see them for who they were. As I said, yes, they were not so nice people, but if I didn't have the issue of the bullying from the past, I hadn't cleared that. Had I cleared that, then I would just see the boss as an issue for what it was.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, I see.
Whereas what you're doing is that if you haven't cleared anything from the past and you're being triggered, it means you're going all the way back and you're carrying all of that motion and everything else and that baggage you're carrying on with yourself. You're constantly getting triggered and saying, see, this is what the kids used to say, and see, he's saying the same thing, he's saying the same thing. When in fact, if you've cleared all of that past and you're dealing with a difficult boss, you're just saying, for what is this difficult? Why is this boss difficult? And you know that it's nothing to do with you, because obviously anyone who's a bully is because they have lack of self-esteem and insecure, period.
Yeah.
Because no one has to be mean to anyone. Nobody has to be rude or difficult to anyone. They have got their own baggage and they're taking it out themselves.
They're projecting onto other people.
Exactly, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's why that's why I think in the workplace, a lot of people get stressed out and they're getting triggered by bosses and are very demanding and things. They're not being triggered by the boss itself. They're being triggered. They're being triggered by they are being triggered by the boss, but it's not that issue that's been is causing the anxiety and stress. It's what's happened in the past, and the excess baggage they're carrying because of that, because they don't believe they're good enough. Ultimately, because they've had some trauma. And so if they've cleared all of that and they feel good enough, then they can deal with it. And I've worked with clients of that, where that we've cleared the past and stuff, and then I remember one client basically who was dealing with a difficult boss, and he was being really mean to her and saying that I don't want you to even look at me and stuff if you come into the office, and she was very, didn't even know what to do. And so she's quite meek, and then and had a lot of anxiety. We cleared all the anxiety, we cleared out the past, and when we gave her that solid boost, when she would go in, she would obviously go in with her head held high, and she was confident enough to actually even look at her boss and just smile and just carry on with her work and go off and do her thing. And that, she's projecting completely different energy, to the point where other people are saying to her, oh my God, your energy is really different. What have you done? Have you got a new boyfriend? And she's saying, she just smiled herself and didn't say anything. But they say, you must have a new boyfriend because you look so different. You seem so happy. God forbid if you're happy because you love yourself. But anyway, and she was telling me this, we were chuckling together about that. And what happened was that she was looking at her boss now and straight in the eye, because he said to her, don't ever give me eye contact. I don't want to ever see you again. And some rubbish that he was doing. And so because she felt that confidence, she walked into that, into the office, and she'd be really confident in the office, and she would look straight at him. He didn't know what to do. In fact, the first time she did it, he was on the phone in a glass office somewhere, and he was just like taken aback that she was able to do it. How dare she even look at me? How dare she? He was a bit shocked and didn't know what to do. And then she did it again, and he tried it again to see, and then, but she overcome that block. And the thing is, she realized it was nothing to do with him, and she just realized who he was for what he was, and she wasn't going to let him affect her. So that's just one example. So that's why when we go into and mental health is a big issue, I think, in corporate now. I think, I've worked in corporate for quite many years, and and now even more so how difficult it is, and the pressure that people are under. People need to be taking care of their mental health. It's so important. And I think now companies are realizing that. I think before COVID, mental health, it wouldn't existed. Corporate and mental health would not exist together, I don't believe. A lot of companies don't do it. They just think, well, because it's seen as weak, and a lot of CEOs and CFOs and things like that, people I've worked with, high achievers, who would say, well, if anyone knew I was coming to see you, they'd see it as a weakness. I'd be seen as weak, when in fact they're actually strong. And also if to talk about it, or it's just seen as a weakness. But now I think, given what's happened, and we in a world of anxiety right now, and so much uncertainty, I think companies are becoming more aware. And I think a lot of companies, especially here, were reaching out to therapists and people healthcare workers to have talks. And I spoke to, I did a few webinars as well to companies and to charities and things about being resilient and how to deal with what's going on, and how to pull yourself through that.
Yeah.
So I welcome that, and I think it's amazing, brilliant that they are doing that, because it's really important they take care of their people, because if they're not taking care of the people, nothing else is going to get done.
Yeah, that's true.
And if companies, I think they're now realizing that it really has impact on the bottom line anyway. So take care of the people, you're going to be okay.
Yeah, 100%. I think, like you said, I think COVID definitely has accelerated the importance of mental health in the workplace and in work in general. I think it's also, though, very culturally dependent, because in my time when I was working in Amsterdam, not in the corporate world, let me rephrase that, but in like the startup world, mental health was quite a big thing.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think depending on where you are in the world, there's a different perception surrounding mental health, and I know here definitely is.
Yeah.
It definitely would be seen, I think, as a weakness in general.
Yeah.
You know, so I totally agree with that.
Yeah, and startups, mental health is a big issue, because the thing is that a lot of entrepreneurs, being an entrepreneur is not for the faint-hearted. Even having your own business, I love what I do, and I eat, breathe, sleep it. I'm an entrepreneur. I've done lots of other things, and I love what I do, and I'm passionate about it. And that's why I think that when people like Steve Jobs say, find something that you're pretty passionate about, or Elon Musk says it, because they're right. If you're not passionate about what you do, then sometimes when it gets tough, or when you're really tired, you're not going to push yourself through it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I used to work in corporate, and I used to work 14-hour days. And I get tired, but I had to do it. I work 16-hour days sometimes now, but it's not working. I mean, it's a passion, it's a drive. I could be working with clients here, Abu Dhabi, and then online till the early hours sometimes. And and as long as I'm fed, and sometimes I've just had one coffee, because I do intermittent fasting. That's where intermittent fasting is really powerful for me. Okay. Yeah, but you kind of get tired, but this is your passion.
Yeah.
You're making a difference, and people need help, and you're helping them. So, of course you need to take self-care, but you're doing it. So there's that passionate drive to do it. But even then, I think that it's a lonely game. It's a lonely game being, as an entrepreneur.
It's all you.
It's all you. And then startups, that's why it's really hard going, because you're building a business up. It could be a year, 2 years, 3 years before anyone even, get anywhere. If you're lucky.
If you survive that.
To survive that. And the thing is that it's a lonely game, and, sometimes you may not get the support that you want, or you have the vision, you have the drive to do it, and not everyone else is going to have the same vision and drive to do it.
100%.
And so yes, mental health amongst entrepreneurs particularly, and startups and stuff, is very important. And they there's lots of people who have committed suicide because their business haven't worked out and things, and they've attached their self-esteem to their business.
Yeah. Exactly. It's out. My self-esteem is drawn from my outward success, not from who I am as a person.
Exactly.
And what I think of myself.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the things that I thought, like coming back to the RTT and the hypnotherapy thing, that I thought was really interesting, because I was speaking with a friend the other day, and it all comes down to, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, it all comes down to beliefs, right?
Yeah.
Your beliefs.
Yeah.
Now, the question I wanted to ask you, let's say I'm a client, I was introduced to you. Mm-hmm. I don't believe that this will work, but beliefs are big, and beliefs play such a key role in it being successful.
Yeah.
Will it? Can it be? Could you convince me otherwise, or if that's my belief from the beginning, it's probably not going to work out?
Well, I'll just say, well, why do you want to see me then? If you believe that it's not going to work, then why are you here? Okay, because I'm not in the business to convince people. I want people to come in. That if people say, "Look, I'm a bit skeptical about it," like I spoke to somebody else 2 days ago again who was skeptical about it, and I just said, "Look, you may be skeptical." He said, "Well, I'm not sure about it." And I said, "Like, do you want to get better, or you don't want to?" And he wants to get better. And I said, "Well, look, I know you may be skeptical," and then I gave him a lot of evidence and backup and case studies, of success stories and things that, so that basically he's not skeptical, and maybe he keeps an open mind. By the end of that conversation, he said, "Okay, I'm open-minded about it. I'm willing to do it." One of my first clients was skeptical.
Really?
He was in South Africa. He was a
Okay.
businessman. And he said, listen, I've heard about this RTT, and I know you're in Dubai, and like we could do Zoom session. And look, I'm really skeptical about it. I'm not sure about it. And, we had a conversation, and in the end he just said, you know what, I'm open-minded about it. Let's do it. I said, okay. That guy ended up being one of my biggest fans. Okay?
Really?
He ended up,
Really?
he had businesses, and he ended up letting go of some of the blocks that he had because he never wanted to be an entrepreneur. He wanted to be a racing car driver, and
okay.
but he ended up being in business, and he was tired, and and then he wrote books, and it basically unleashed a whole new area of his life that he never thought he was going to access.
Yeah.
And he wrote me a beautiful long page testimonial other than that. So I mean, the thing is, people can say they're skeptical, and then we can have a conversation about it if they're willing to have a conversation. That's not a problem. If you're going to be skeptical and you're thinking, oh, I try and hypnotize me, or try and do RTT on me, and let's see if it works, that I'm not going to bother. I'm not going to try and convince somebody.
Because you're being, in that way, you're kind of being challenged, right?
Yeah, it's not being challenged. It's like, well, what are you doing? I mean, why do you want to put yourself like that?
Yeah.
And you're not surrendering yourself to the process. You're not open to the process, and this is not a game.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
not a game.
That's for sure.
So it's something, if you're going to be open-minded about it, great.
Yeah.
Because you are going to, and it's all about beliefs. We believe that we are worthy. We believe we're not worthy. You can believe that you love yourself 10 out of 10 today. You can believe you're not worth 10 out of 10. You came into this world believing you had a belief that you were happy, no fears, happy baby, no care in the world, and you picked up beliefs on the way.
Yep.
Those beliefs, and there's enough evidence out there that believes, you are what you think. And
100%.
I'm a pranic healer. I'm a kinesiologist. I'm an RTT therapist. I've done yoga. I've worked a lot of energies, and also, I as a kid, I didn't know this, but I have psychic ability, so I'm quite psychic on some levels. I don't really go into it much, but I know about energies, and I know about feelings, and it's about your you believe something is going to be, you believe it. Your mind is a computer. You will give it instructions, and the mind will say, okay, I'm
going to do that for you.
I'm going to do that for you, right?
Yeah.
But from pranic healing, from kinesiology, I mean, I've seen it. Your body becomes weak. You think a thought, a negative thought, your body becomes weak. You think a good thought, your body becomes strong. Our thoughts are things. They say it in The Secret, although I'm not a complete big fan of Secret, but it says thoughts are things. It's true. We emit the energy. We emit the vibration. So, and your beliefs are what you are. So why would you believe that you're anything less than? And it's a shame that other people do tell people that, you're never going to get better, and they believe it. But also people who refuse to believe that, and they are walking again.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So it's about belief.
Yeah.
It's about your belief about yourself, not what anyone else can say about you. And what we do is we end up believing everyone else rather than believing ourselves.
Yeah. And
that's where the problem is. And the other thing is that the other problem I find is that most people think that whatever thought that comes to their mind, they have to react to it. That's it. That thought's coming into my mind, and that's it.
It must be actionable now.
Actionable, or I believe it because the thought said I'm not worthy and things. The mind doesn't know the difference between a good thought or a bad thought. It's just a thought. It's just kind of functioning off. It's like firing off all the time.
Yeah.
But especially if you've thought something, or something's happened and you had a thought about something, and you every day, your same time roughly, you're having the same thought again. It becomes a pattern.
Yeah.
The brain's creating algorithms to minimize expenditure of energy, and you'll then create that behavior, and then you're on that downward spiral or an upward spiral.
Yeah.
But you can change it in an instant. You can change it in an instant, and you can change your life. I mean, if I muscle test you now, if I said to you, I'm strong, your muscles will be strong. You'll feel life energy through your whole body. It will be strong and solid. If you started saying I'm weak, I'm pathetic, or whatever negative words you'd say to yourself, your body will just go completely weak, and you will have no life energy.
Yeah.
The whole body reacts to what you're saying.
Yeah. And
thinking.
I think the perfect thing to come on to after that is, and what I've learned from the course is it blows my mind, just like you said, I'm strong and I'm weak, the importance of language.
Oh my God,
And the
words are so important.
But it's crazy. I can't
know.
believe it.
And it's not just RTT. Look, Marissa is amazing, and she's saying that the words are things. It's true. And there's enough evidence. You can actually, Dr. Komoto was I think a marine biologist or a scientist, and he was working with water. And he, sadly, he's died recently, but it's really sad because he's very young. But anyway, he came across this by accident, and he was noticing that if you said positive words into water, the water would crystallize in beautiful patterns.
What?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. And if you said negative words into the water, it would come up with ugly looking crystal.
Wow.
And he's photographed all of this. He's even done, I think, the word with Allah. Okay, and it's a beautiful, beautiful crystal. And that guy, I mean, if that doesn't show you that basically whatever you say creates that vibration, he can crystallize it and what it looks like, then I don't know what it is. There was another study recently or a while back when they had two plants in a school, and one plant, the people were saying,
like negative things.
Negative things, yeah. Right? And the other one was positive. And the negative things on that plant, the whole plant withered away.
Wow.
Another story, and this is from a story from my Dr. Ju, who's a creator of PKP kinesiology, who's based in Australia, and he came and did 1 year. He did a training with us for, I think, like 1 or 2 weeks, I think it was, so I can facilitate kinesiology classes for the first year and things, because I'm about to graduate my fifth year. So and he was telling us that, he was a medical doctor, and he then started doing kinesiology as well, and taking an arm of kinesiology and actually adding to that, and he created professional kinesiology. Really felt that we needed the world needed a professional kinesiology practice that people, for people. And he used to have, he's a medical doctor, and so he used to have people coming in and talking and telling them about their problems. And one of the things he used to do to help them deal with their problems, he said, write down your worry. So there would be a worry basket that they would have.
Okay.
And they would write down the worry and then put it into the basket. And so they put it into the basket and they'd walk off. So people would come into the clinic, write down their little worries, put it into their basket, and then forget about it and leave, because it felt them that there was a way of alleviating the pain or
like
the stress.
Like a release.
Yeah. So he did that. Now, what happened was that the nurse who used to empty out so there was the office, and behind it was the back of there was a garden or parking area, and then there was next to it there was the kind of a river or something. And what the nurse would do would like empty the basket of all those worries out of the window into the garden or something. Apparently it was meant to blow away into the river, and it just all flow away. Okay, I don't know if that's ecologically friendly or not, but this is the story, and I heard it from the horse's mouth anyway. So she was doing that, and then one day Dr. Ju's colleague, another doctor who was in the practice, saying, listen, you can't believe what's happened, but I bought this brand new car. It's red. It's a brand new car. And the paint is coming off the bonnet already. I don't know what's going on, but I don't know what the hell's going on, but, this is really frustrating. And he just thought, that's really strange. And he said, well, where are you parking it? And he showed him exactly where he parked it. And he parked it just underneath the window of where
all that was falling out.
I was falling out.
Okay.
So he said, now that's how powerful energy is. Okay. And so basically he said, well, you parked it here. She's been throwing all these like pieces of paper, which of energy, with quite negative energy, is hitting your car, and it's eroding the enamel. He said, what are you talking about? This is rubbish. This is woohoo. Forget this and stuff like that. It's okay. The doctor actually went back and repainted. He said there's obviously something for. He had it repainted, and he parked it back again.
In the same place.
And the same thing happened again. And then obviously he realized that I'm not going to park there again. So there's enough evidence, there's enough stories, there's enough people out there who are talking about this, how even Dr. Bruce Lipton has done scientific studies about how the brain activity actually is outside the brain. It comes outside the brain, which means that you are sending out frequencies, vibrations.
Yeah.
And so if that's when your thoughts are, when you're saying things or you're writing them down, it has energy.
So if there's this is something I don't understand, because I've heard about the tree example, but all those examples are scientifically researched. They're clear. There's no like bias behind it. So why, or at least my perception, I think a lot of people still find it or are skeptical about like all this kind of stuff. Why do you think that is? I've never been able to figure out what the reason is.
I think that I think people are not in it. I think when people when you go on this kind of journey of transformation or understanding and things, it's only when you've gone through something happening to you. I think there's another doctor I heard, he said you'll continue to do the same patterns until something happens, that's negative, tragic or negative or massive, life-changing. It could be a car accident, it could be a death, it could be a divorce, it could be a loss of a child or something. Something happens where you kind of then reflect, and when it's that time, or you're creating these patterns, so you had a breakup of a relationship, and you're going through all of this, and then suddenly you have something, and then you go back and reflect, and you start looking at, well, okay, I've gone to the doctor, I've had these medications, it's not working, or it could be health issues, it could be psychological issues. I've done psychology, or I'm having medication, I feel I need something else, or sometimes, and so they start looking and investigating, and the more people start reading, the more start going on their journey of discovery, the more people are finding these things, and then maybe then trying them out and things. And that's why kinesiology is very well known in Australia, Canada, and US anyway, and UK as a go-to thing anyway. Hypnotherapy, I've even met Dr. Emmett Miller, who I met, a phenomenal guy, and he used to use hypnotherapy in his surgery, in operations in the 1960s and 70s.
In the 60s and 70s?
Yes.
Wow, even back then?
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. So, and he was from Harvard.
Okay.
So, the whole idea of hypnotherapy is not about clucking like a chicken on stage. And to be honest, I don't even know how people do that, because I think people know exactly what they're doing. It's free will. So I'm not sure about how that all works. And I just don't believe it.
Yeah.
But RTT or other forms of hypnotherapy, are tapping subconscious level to help people shift, and it's always with their own free will. It's not, no one is doing anything against their will.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's from the conversations I've had with people, I think just how being hypnotized has been portrayed to us our whole life in movies and stuff like that. I had a conversation yesterday with someone, they're like, I'm like, I did my session. They're like, did you get out the clock? And everything. And I'm like,
listen,
I don't blame them.
I know. And the thing is, like, people used to say that to me and things. I said, yeah, whatever, whatever. Yeah. And so I don't take them seriously. There are a lot of people who don't want to do it, and that's fine until they maybe get stuck and they may need health issues and stuff like that, and other things aren't working. Some people may find something that may work for them. Some people may not have anything, and fine. But I think that even more so now, things are changing. I think Mind Valley have done a lot of work into really changing mindsets. Other people are doing a lot of work on mindsets, and people are changing, are becoming open. Maybe it's because the world is changing and people are open to looking at other modalities and looking at ways of healing and moving and transforming themselves, because they don't want to be stuck. There's lots of people who are quite happy to be stuck and they want to just stay in there. It's natural to be in your comfort zone anyway. And so a group of people will always want to just stay in their comfort zone.
For sure.
I know I had a family member who basically, he had his job. He did it for 25 years. He'd be there from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day. He'd come home, he'd have his dinner, he'd watch his TV, he'd maybe go to the gym maybe once, 2-3 times a week, or go for a swim, and then that would be it. He'd have his children, he raised his kids, he'd pick them up from school, take them back to school, whatever he did, and he'd meet family at the weekends, and that was it. He had no drive and ambition. And then when he left his job, he had the same car, he had the same more or less clothes. He didn't want to do anything else. And that's okay. That's his life, and he was happy with that. For me, I couldn't wait to get out, be 16 and travel the world, conquer the world, learn, grow, develop as much as I can, expand. And I've been fortunate enough to be able to do that. I actually nearly married a guy when I was 23. He wanted to stay in a particular city in the UK, and all he wanted to do is his accountancy and just stay in that job, and stay in that place and live his life. Whereas I was like, I want to go and change the world. Yeah, I want to travel the world. I want to conquer the world. I want to heal and to change. I want to do as much as I want to.
Yeah.
And he's lived his life the way he wanted to, and I've lived my life the way I wanted to. And I'm all about transformation and change, and what's really important for me is really people living a life of pure freedom on all levels, vitality and vibrancy, and pure abundance on all levels.
Yeah.
So I created a program called Quantum Freedom, which is basically RTT coaching and other things that I create in that, and it's all about just quantum freedom, just really elevating yourself as the highest way possible, from the inside out, from every single molecule cell, to actually being expansive. Because if you're not free mentally, emotionally, physically, then you have nothing. You're always beholden to someone or something. And so when we're constantly looking for that nice car, or we want to make that money, of course you want to have money and nice cars, but if you're codependent on that, if you're codependent on somebody for a relationship and willing to take the breadcrumbs that they give you so that you feel loved by them, you're always going to be beholden to someone, right?
You're
not free.
You're kind of like chained. You're chained to whatever.
You're chained. You're not mentally free. You're trying to get validated from other people as well. You're never going to be free. Once you actually are looking at the inner game of yourself and really focusing on yourself and having that amazing relationship with yourself and falling in love with yourself, sounds a bit cliche, but it is true. The more you do that, the more you feel peace within yourself, you feel full of love, peace, tranquility, the more your life is going to change.
100%.
If you don't have that, you don't have anything.
Yeah.
Because you can have all those things, but you'll never have peace of mind and happiness. You can have it to a certain level, but it'll never fulfill you.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
That's 100% true. One thing you said, like, I totally agree with, the whole loving yourself and so on, because I think that was, if out of all the work I've done, that was the biggest thing that has made the biggest impact on my life, and taking accountability for everything.
Yeah. And
please.
As I was going to say, and then, as you're saying that, people think this maybe it's not woohoo. And the thing is, especially since COVID, even more so, there's been a reset button. Even more so, people have had a time to reflect on things. Even more so, people are now thinking about, and more people are talking about self-love and doing that. And there's different ways you can do it. It's really sad for me to hear from my clients that they don't love themselves. But what is even sadder when I work with them to do that, but what's even sad for me, and it's heartbreaking initially when, I don't know what it feels like to be loved. I don't know what it feels like to feel love for myself.
Yeah.
Because they've never had it. Yeah. And these are people who are walking around, very successful people, all sorts of backgrounds, mothers, fathers, high achievers, whatever, students going out and doing it, and on the outside they're great. They're great.
Yeah.
But on the inside, they don't even know how it feels like to feel love. And it's like, oh my God. And so we have to really try to build that up. And that's really sad. And so, and love is the highest vibration anyway. If you're looking to, the more you want to flow and be in your flow, and there's lots of people, I think Steve Kotler talks about flow and being in your flow of work and things. A lot more people talking about flow. It's energy flow. But the energy flow is only going to happen if you have the energy flow within yourself.
Yeah.
You can't get it from outside.
It all comes
you
from
try
within.
On the outside, it's not going to last. Ain't going to happen.
Yeah. There's a time limit on it. Yeah.
So I think more and more people are becoming aware of that.
Yeah.
People are being awakened about that, and people are more open to looking at that now. And especially with COVID, they're thinking, reassessing their whole lives, reassessing what they're doing, they're reassessing the year, what they're doing, reassessing who they're with or not with.
Yeah.
So, so I think more and more people are now open to it. And so those people, they were skeptical. If they want to be skeptical, fine. They're welcome to be. But then I think many conversations I've had, they haven't become. They're open to it and they change it. But if you want to be skeptical and not do it, that's fine as well. And if you feel, though, it's not for me, that's okay. If you don't want to change, you don't have to. I'm in the business of helping people, and that's what Marissa wants to do, and what she does. And I believe in this, is that, life is too short. You want to grow as fast as possible and expand as fast as possible. And you can do that. And, RTT is one way to do that.
Yeah. And what would you say? Because I was thinking, because I did therapy a couple months ago, just normal therapy. I don't know what that even means, but normal therapy, just
Talk therapy.
talk therapy.
Yeah,
exactly.
how you're feeling, what's happening.
Exactly.
Yeah, awareness.
And I think I did about 4 sessions, and it was very helpful.
Yeah.
Very, very helpful.
Yeah.
I definitely changed my perspective on a lot of things. My whole thing was I was not enough. That was the underlying belief. But after going through this course and seeing the power of RTT and hypnotherapy and how many things it can like fix, the question I started to ask myself is, why would I go to another form of therapy rather than just do this? But like you were saying earlier, there's a place for everything.
Exactly.
So I'm not saying that's not, you know what I mean?
I think it's a place for everything. And there's sometimes, like you said, that you didn't know, you felt that you want to talk it out. Okay. So, and it's about awareness as well. Even kinesiology is about awareness. So you want to be aware of what's happening. Why are you feeling like this? What's coming up? What triggered it? And sometimes just talking about it and having an understanding of it is really helpful.
Yeah.
50% of it is going to be awareness anyway. And so I really validate that as well. Where I think it's become sometimes an issue is, for instance, I've had a client who's, had been raped 3 times in her life. And she was seeing someone on a weekly basis to talk about it for 2 years. For what? I don't think that that's going to really make much difference talking about it. And, there's enough studies now as well. I think Harvard did one as well, that you talk, because the brain doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So, like sports people will imagine that they've made the perfect serve, in tennis, or throw the ball perfectly in a basket hoop, or done a golf swing perfectly, whatever it is. You can visualize anything to do perfectly, and the brain will know different. I used to use that method for my running. When I was in London, I used to run near the river in Hammersmith every Sunday, whether it was cold or sunny, and I used to dread doing the 6-mile run. I used to dread it.
Oh,
but
6 miles
it's quite long.
Yeah.
And but how I used to get over it was, before the run, I used to visualize that I was running, that I did the run, and I'd really visualize it and really feel that I'd already done it. So the mind had thought, oh, okay, you've just done it, and you don't just want to do it again. And so when I used to go for the run was so much more easier. It just flowed, because I think, well, you've already done it, so it doesn't matter.
It's easy.
It's easy.
Yeah.
So you can visualize. Now, that's a very positive way of reviewing things and visualizing, creating. But the thing is, if you're talking about the same problem again and again, and you're reliving the experience, because you're effectively reliving and re-triggering potentially as well that experience, that's not going to give you any value, and it doesn't help. So in those instances, I think that's where tapping at the subconscious level is very important to clear all of that, so you can move on.
Yeah, exactly.
I've worked with couples as well. Recently, I worked with a couple who both had their own baggage, and they were talking. They'd been seeing a therapist for 1.5 years. I think that was just too long to deal with, and they got tired in the end. They just it wasn't working for them, and so I was recommended for their mutual friend. And they worked with me, and really it was about clearing each of their baggages and what they came into. Because again, as I said to you, other people, you get triggered by other people, but it's not the person.
Yeah.
It's you being triggered by something that happened to you.
Yeah.
And it's just about clearing that.
Yeah.
And so this couple were triggering each other from stuff that they've been carrying and hadn't cleared out.
Yeah.
And so once we did that, they had a lot of understanding with each other about what was the past from their previous issues, and then having to them connect a bit better. So, it works for the couples as well. You do that. So you do a bit of marriage counseling that way.
For sure.
And I'm really, and also, medication, it has its place and it's valuable as and when it's needed.
Yeah. Not that shouldn't be the first line.
No, I think that should, there should be a whole criteria or steps to get to that.
Yeah.
But everything has its place.
Yeah, everything has its place. I think that's the right approach to have as well. Over the years, so you've been doing it now for a couple of years.
5 years.
5 years. Yeah, that's a long time. I can imagine, because I'm like, it was really interesting to talk to you, because I'm at like level 1 and you're like at level 5. So I'm curious, so interested to see, when you were starting out, how long did it take for you to start feeling like really comfortable with like the whole like taking someone through the sessions and stuff? Was it quick, or was it?
I was trained really well, so.
And you're trained directly with Marissa too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty.
Yeah, we're live. So I was trained, I think, the first few sessions.
Really?
You follow the process, and you follow the process. I don't think you can go wrong. And I think you just tap into your intuition, your common sense, and things like that. And even more so now, I mean, the program is trained and taught very, very well anyway. So I think that you'll be given the confidence and the belief to be able to do it, and you have enough practice beforehand anyway.
Yeah.
So that you feel that you're doing it. You can just do it.
Yeah,
You just did it yesterday.
That's
you did
true.
really well. So what the hell? There's no reason for you to question yourself.
That's true. That's true.
I think you and Marissa does also this whole thing about being the phenomenal therapist. She does a group session on
Yeah,
everyone.
she always says that. Yeah. That's her like phrase.
So exactly.
Yeah.
And so look, there's no reason for you to. It's self-belief.
Self-belief. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. So when you started doing it here in Dubai, you've been doing it since 2017, right? In Dubai.
2015.
2015.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you started compared to now, how has the perception changed around things like hypnotherapy? Because I feel now it's a lot more prevalent.
Yeah, it's
so
much
was it
more.
more difficult when you were starting out, or
No, people knew about it then because there's hypnotherapy here anyway, and people know about it. People didn't really know much about RTT, but they were beginning to understand it and things. But now a lot of people know about RTT, and it's grown. I mean, Marissa, the course, and Marissa has won so many awards, but on the efficacy of it all, and it's grown so immensely for people who want to train, but people who want to have the sessions, so on both sides. And I mean, the thing is that, but people were, if people wanted help, and as I said, people wanted to, when they want help and they see that something's is gonna be effective and fast, then they want to help. Help. Nothing's a magic pill, but it's going to be way faster than a lot of other things that sometimes they may be sick and tired of going through talk therapy, or or feeling the pain that they've been feeling. They want to get rid of it, and they want to really do some deep work and to clear it all out. Yeah.
And over the years, I know each client you probably worked with gives you an immense feeling of satisfaction that you're able to help them with the issue. But was there one client that really stands out that you can remember?
So many now, honestly. There are so many, and I couldn't really name one. I mean, there are so many on so many levels. It's just blown me away.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had a veteran who'd been blown up 27 times in a tank, and she'd been constantly seeing a doctor, various doctors, had so many operations, and she developed severe anxiety, and she couldn't bring herself to go into the doctors anymore. It was too much for her. I'd worked with her, but one of the sessions we did, and that one session just changed her completely.
Really?
Yeah. I had another client who, there's been obviously cults, where there've been abuse and things like that, and cleared all of that, and that they felt better, let go of all of that. I had one client who was really skeptical with me, and she was recommended by her sister, and she said, well, she told me to speak to you, and
I'm just going to do it. Yeah.
No. And, we're going to have this chat, but look, I'm not going to waste your time. I just don't want to be bullshitted. Just tell me what it is and how you're going to help me. And if, if you can't help me, just tell me, because I don't want to waste my time. I mean, that's how the conversation started. I thought, okay. Okay. Anyway, yeah. And she'd had a lot of things, and she'd had a nervous breakdown at one point, and she'd left work, and now she was trying to have a baby. Plus, she had a real passion for singing and things, and she had lots of blocks. And so she was really skeptical, and I love a challenge. So, so I said to her, look, I know you've gone through a lot of experiences and you find this expensive, but I know I can help you, provided you're open and I'm willing to get help. And so why don't I do this? Why don't you work with me and don't pay me until at the end? And if you feel that you've got the results, then pay me afterwards. Okay. So she couldn't really say no to that. So we were first worked on her voice, and she had a beautiful voice, and she had a real fear she'd been having issues about her voice. Her throat was blocked with a lot of emotion that she'd been carrying. A lot of people I've had who have lose their voice because they're carrying a lot of emotion or haven't been able to speak up. And so she was one of them, and it was all a lot to do with the trauma from her childhood. And then we cleared stuff all about to do with songwriting and also finding the guitarist or the band, and then her standing up and doing the gigs. And then we worked on that, and then she then sent me the videos of the gigs she did. And I mean, I still have that, and the music, she's got an amazing voice. So that was that one done. So that was one thing that she had. And then she was going for IVF, and she had a lot of issues, IVF, and she had only one embryo left, and there was a lot of complications and things. And I said, look, and we're working together. So she said, I want you to help me with this. I said, okay. So we worked together on that.
The egg thing that's glowing.
And things like that. So we did all of that, and it was her last one. And she got pregnant.
That's awesome.
And
that's
a year ago, she had a baby girl. And this September, I think it was September the 6th, I called her up, I messaged her again. I said, it's your daughter's birthday, 1 year old. She said, yes. I said, wish her happy birthday. I hope you're well. And I hope you're well. So, yeah, that was a client who was extremely skeptical.
Yeah.
She was like being recommended, and she thought, okay, maybe she can help me or not anyway. And we did both these big things that she wanted to achieve in her life, and she got them.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
So that's, I think, I have a lot of others I could talk about, but I mean, it's blessings. They're all blessings.
Yeah, it really come on, to help someone, the voice is one thing, but to help someone get pregnant, and that you have a gift that's always going to remind her of you.
Well, I don't know if she can remember me, but the thing is the fact that she's got a baby and she's happy, and she sent me a little clip as well. Yeah. And I'm not God, but the thing is that I try and help. I'm helping the West with the techniques that I've learned.
Exactly.
From Rissa. So and other things. Yeah.
And I know you have a lot of areas of focus. Personal growth, business, mind, body, sports, and stuff. Is there one area in particular that you enjoy the most, or that you feel most passionate about, or are you happy with either?
I think I'm just more, look, I work with professionals, I work with entrepreneurs, I work with stay-at-home moms and things, I work with people, young kids and stuff, I work with little children as well. I think all of it is really interesting. I think that, and people come with different problems, but a lot of them is because they're not feeling enough. They've lost their self-worth, their anxiety. I think, the people that I work with people who are anxious, stuck, or sick. Okay. And so those are key, whoever is anxious, stuck, or sick. Anxious because anxiety is a symptom of all these other issues that they may have. Being stuck, I remember when I was 38, I was really stuck in my life. I didn't know what to do. And I basically reached out to when I was 38, I was overweight. I was 3 stone overweight. I was hating my job, and I was in a very dysfunctional relationship. And
you were the coach, right?
Yeah. So basically, what happened was that I was it was 2006, and it was moving into 2007. I thought, I cannot bear another year like this. And I was in too much pain. I thought, I've got to change something. And I've always been very good at doing that. But I don't know what happened. I got stuck somewhere. And I just felt, right, I've got to do something. And obviously, this is pre-Marissa and RTT or anything else. I did on my own things. But I just thought, I've got to Google something. I've got to find someone. And I Googled, and I found a coach. And this guy actually responded back to me, Lee. His name's Lee Barnes, and he's very good. And so basically, I... reached out to him, and then he helped me. Within the first 3 months of that year, I lost 3 stone. And then I slowly finished that relationship. And then in that year, then I traveled to Australia to see one of my best friends. By the end of the year, I made an intention that I was going to be living abroad.
Yeah.
And that I was going to apply for jobs now abroad, and Dubai or UAE and stuff. Funny enough, when I came back, I was actually headhunted for a job in Abu Dhabi.
No way.
When you put the energy out there, when you put the intention out there, the energy shifts anyway, and things happen.
Yeah.
So, and then 2 months later, I was in Abu Dhabi with a new job and a new life, complete different.
Yeah.
And last 12 years, 13 years of my life have been phenomenal. I've had a few setbacks. I did get married and get divorced, but again, that was a learning. But overall, has been phenomenal, and I'm now living my dream.
Yeah.
And I think that when I did that whole change, even when I moved countries, I still hadn't done the work on self-love myself. And it's only when I had got married and then, realized I married the wrong person. I'd realized I'd married the wrong person on the day of my vows. And
oh wow.
yeah, and I still made it make it work.
Wow.
And then we left consciously in a respectful, dignified manner. And that's when I really worked on myself to love myself as well. And then again, last 5 years, last 7 years, 6-7 years have been phenomenal.
Yeah. And that year that you were talking about, that was kind of the catalyst that started all this, that whole journey.
I was already starting.
Yeah.
I was already on that journey of training and things like that. And this happened. In fact, that probably, sometimes we don't want to look at the issues.
You don't look in the mirror and see what's going on.
And then think, it'll be okay. But when you actually start doing the work, when you're learning to be a therapist, when you're doing that work, you're having to confront things that you haven't confronted, and things start changing. And it was really funny. And we talk about energy. Every time I do a weekend kinesiology, after we'd done all the work that day, at the end of that weekend, I'd have to go home, and my body did not want to go back into that home, because it just knew that the energy wasn't right. It didn't want to be there.
It's kind of like that gut feeling, right?
Exactly.
That you know.
Yeah, you know. But you just, and this is it. I think that one of the things that is so important, I think that's why a lot of people are depressed, because they never tap into their intuition. They never tap into the inner voice. And when you don't tap into your inner voice, that's when you get depressed. That's when you're not really living your true life, authentic life. And I have to say that that's one thing that did happen to me when I was married. I wasn't really listening to my voice. I hadn't followed through my inner voice. I had done all this work and done all these amazing things. This is training. And I was living this amazing life. So of course, I met somebody, I meet them, I live happily ever after. That's what they say on the tin, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if you're not loving yourself, if you think that you are loving yourself, but you're not really loving yourself, then you met the wrong person, and then in your inner voice, you're not following through with your inner voice. That's when you get depression. That's when you get anxiety. That's when you don't have peace of mind.
Yeah, because on some level, you like you said, and you're acting in almost in the opposite to that. So
completely.
It just builds it like why.
Exactly.
I know I'm not
exactly. Sometimes talking to somebody, you're not sure whether they're right or not, or sometimes completely this person, I don't want to talk to this person. But sometimes you don't know. There's something about somebody you're not feeling comfortable about, and 10 out of 10, those people have turned out to be not so nice.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
so the more you trust your intuition, even if the vibe isn't right, the energy is not right, even if it's not 100%, trust it. Because the thing is that your inner voice is your internal guide. If you meditate, you connect with it, and start living your life in authenticity. You're depressed. A lot of depression, I believe, is a lot to do with that. You're not following through in your inner voice. And once you're doing that, oh my God, your life is amazing.
Yeah.
And so when I left that marriage, and then, so I had an amazing life. I had done a lot of work. I had cleared a lot of stuff. But I still fell into that trap of thinking, oh, this person's the right person. I love that person. I will love them enough so they can love me.
Yeah.
I will be the people pleaser. I'll be the rescuer. And so I'd done a lot of work, but I hadn't really done the work on myself that level. So I'd done all the weight loss. I'd done the change, the job, everything else, new environment. Now it was obviously, the universe saying, well, you've got to do that work on yourself internally, Samira, right?
Yeah.
And, so I went through in that marriage. Look, the person was amazing. He's a lovely guy. We're still friends. It just wasn't the right person for me, and vice versa. And I was in a marriage where I felt I was not loved. But then I guess I wasn't loving myself at that time, and I went through a period of severe depression.
Yeah.
And I lost my personality, and because I was not following through on my own inner intuition. And so when you start doing that, you get your strength, and when you walk away from that, you have everything, because once you're aligned with your inner voice, when you're aligned with your purpose, everything flows.
Yeah. And I wanted to come to that point about being aligned.
Yes.
You said that at the beginning as well. How does someone become aligned? Do you understand?
Yeah.
How do I start bringing that whole equation together?
So I think that everyone has a gift. Everyone knows what they're meant to be doing. We all come over here into this planet with something. Some people say, oh, I don't know what I want, but deep down it's just buried down there. As a kid, you may have known what you want to do, or you basically are not listening to your inner voice. And and sometimes it's because you were just so, like, I had a client that I've started working with last week. He'd lost his purpose. He wasn't sure what he wanted to do. and he you know, he's feeling angry. He's feeling feels that people are taking advantage of him, and he didn't connect to his inner voice.
Yeah.
But I suppose there was so much stuff there. There was so many layer upon layer of so much years of baggage that he'd put on, that he didn't have space to do it. And that one session, I mean, literally from beginning to the end of the session, the guy looked about 10 years younger. I mean, he was young anyway, but he looked even younger.
Yeah.
And he was blown away by the session. And then the last few days, he just told me about the interviews he's been having and how they're going really well. And he's really excited about it, and they're feeling more aligned about those interviews. Before, he wasn't sure if he wanted to do those. He just wanted to give up on life. And now he's feeling completely different. And that's one session.
Yeah.
So I think it's when it's clearing out the rubbish.
Yeah. I think that's it. Yeah.
It's it. And then you can practice listening to your inner voice. Practice being still. Because sometimes we're not, that's what RTT is, or hypnotherapy is. We are giving an opportunity because you're all aware what you're doing. We're just clearing out all the distractions. So you can actually be a moment of peace to tap into yourself and be with you.
Yeah.
That's what it is, really.
Yeah.
And people don't give themselves enough time to do that on a day-to-day.
Yeah.
So they have to come and work with someone to do that.
That's so funny that you said that, because the person I was working with yesterday, after we finished the session, he was like, every time I meditate, what I felt today is what I'm trying to like get to, and I've never been able to. But like today was the first time I've been able to ever feel that like calm. Even his face, like you said, his face after just looked like, like, you know, something was just like
lifted.
like, taken
exactly.
off.
Exactly. And the client that who I did this for the other day, he just said, I've never been this relaxed in my life. I've never ever. And he's 34 years old. He said, I've never been this relaxed in my life.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah.
So,
it's crazy how things change once you get rid of all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, you know, it gets buried, your intuition and your alignment. And so once you release all of that, you can then tap into your intuition. You have your internal guide. You'll know what your purpose is. And even then you can then do some other work, but you're at a deeper level, you're able to do that, and you'll find it.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're giving your you have to give yourself space to do it.
100%. Yeah, you do need that space. Samira, I want to be conscious of our time today.
Yes.
So I just have two more questions for
you.
Go
ahead.
First of all, I wanted to ask you about why don't you tell us about your mission that you have? I love what it was. What was it? 9 million transformations, 9 cities, 9 years. So how are we doing right now?
Okay. So look, I when I started this, I wanted to do my part in transforming the world. And I wanted to, my mission was, or has been, 9 million transformations in 9 cities in 9 years, because I believe nine transformations, each one of them can transform somebody in their life. So say they did 3 or 4 people in their life, then there'll be 36 million. Then that 36 million will do another 3 or 4 million. Then it go into from a country.
Like exponential, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a country to a continent, from a continent to one side of the world to globally. So that's my way of impacting the world. Yeah. Now, I was actually doing a ticker tape thing that are 9 million people, but I kind of stopped it, because then I started thinking maybe I want to do bigger, because now since I've grown and developed so much and expanded so much, I think that I want to do more. And I think it's because I work with coaches, I work with therapists, I work with, people who want to come and do RTT, people who want to have sessions with me. So I work with lots of people. So I feel that any contact I have with anyone, like yourself here today, and anyone who's listening or anything, is a way of actually helping them, they're going to make a shift, and that's going to shift and then transform. So we're transforming them at levels. It doesn't have to be completely 100% RTT.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, but I'm still doing that. I think I may look at the numbers again and do that. Otherwise, I may be increasing that anyway. And then it's also because I have an online platform. I'm doing that, and growing that, and so the more I do that, the more it's going to be expansive. Yeah,
you got bigger reach as well.
Exactly.
I love. By the way, it just sounds great. 999.
Yes, 999 is like 9 is my lucky number, and 9 is a number of completion. So for me, it's completion. It's about doing that transformation and completing.
Okay. That's awesome. I love that. Samira, for my last question today, this is a question I ask all my guests. Mm-hmm. What is the message that you'd like all the people at home to take home with them today?
The message I would like all your people, or everyone out there who's listening to this, to take home is, life is too short. You don't have to be carrying anything that you've been carrying for a long time that's painful. Everyone goes through an episode in their life. but it's only an episode in their life. It's not the story of their life. And you can change it. You have the power to change anything you want to and let go of anything that you've been holding on to. And so, you know, if anything they can take away is the belief they can change, the hope they can change, and knowing the belief they change. And as this very moment, from the moment they listen to this, say that I can change, I am changing, I choose to change, and now I'm going to take steps to change myself.
Yeah. I think that's beautiful, and it's the perfect way to end the episode. Samira, I wanted to say thank you so much for your time today.
My pleasure.
It was a pleasure speaking to you and listening to your story, and it was so interesting listening to your mission and how you've been helping clients, and I think it's just beautiful. And we'll see where I am in a couple of years. Hopefully we're in the same place.
Absolutely.
That'd be awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. Guys, to everyone at home, thank you so much for listening. And as always, hope it helps. Peace.
Take care. Bye.